Speak on the show 2021, episode 11. Today, checking myself, Sesame Street, gas prices, answer the door, behind closed doors, excuse me, business or sellout, and the mind, body, and soul segment. Y'all ready? Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On. I am your boy, R.W. Coolings. First and foremost, giving honor to the God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Saturday morning, y'all. 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific. Let me get that right. I don't know what's Pacific. I mean Central Time. I don't know them times. I don't know them times. Good morning, Derrick Jackson. Appreciate the support, my brother. Appreciate the support. How's everybody doing this morning? Let's get into these. Let's get these formalities out the way. I got a lot of information I got to pass on to you this morning. So rwcoolings.com. That is the website. You can go there and get all the information. RW Coolings all over any social media platform. Search RW Coolings. You can find us. Also, we're broadcasting live right now on YouTube and Facebook. So share, like and share. Go to YouTube, subscribe, share. Also, you can download the audio after the show on Spreaker.com. And also on Apple iTunes. We're trying to get big here, y'all. We on Apple iTunes. We on Apple iTunes. Yeah, y'all ain't ready. Apple iTunes and Spreaker.com. You can download the audio after the show. Calling number 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. Call in. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is say what you mean and mean what you say when you decide to call in. We come in as friends, we leave as friends. That's all this is about. This is a show to get you information, get the information out there, give you some topics that you may be thinking about that you want to expand on, which is what I like to do. So if you want to call in, let your voice be heard, 844-904-2665. Good morning, sis. Good morning, April Week. Good morning, sis. Appreciate the support. Now, checking myself. I have to go back and check some things from previous shows. I checked the one from last week, and I got some corrections I need to make. So let's just check. Let's do this real quick. Last week, about the vaccinations. I said that Joe Biden was shooting for 1 million in the first 100 days, and he had passed that. It was 100 million. So I misspoke on that. It should have been 100 million, not 1 million. So I want to come on and correct that. And it looks like now they're shooting for 200 million within the first 100 days, because I think we're in like day 60, 50, 60, something like that. So he's shooting for another 100 million in the next 40 days. Let's see how that works out. The vaccinations, everybody still be safe out there with this corona. It's not gone. We just got vaccinations and things that are going on to try to help prevent the spread. So make sure you're doing your due diligence while you're doing this. Also last week, and it's not just me. Mainstream media has been doing this, but I'm not going to blame them. I'm going to blame myself when I say this. But the George Floyd. I disrespected George Floyd's name last week. I'm not going to lie. I disrespected his family and him. This is not the George Floyd trial. This is the Derrick Chauvin trial. When I talked about the jury selection and everything, I said George Floyd trial George Floyd's not on trial. Let's just be real. George Floyd is not on trial. Derrick Chauvin's on trial. So let's make sure that we're enunciating and announcing this in the way it's supposed to be announced. Derrick Chauvin is on trial. Former police officer, Minnesota police, wherever they were at, I can't remember off the top of my head. He's on trial. Not George Floyd. Derrick Chauvin thought he was judge and jury for George Floyd when he was kneeling on his neck. Derrick Chauvin is on trial. So I want to clear that up. I said that last week, and you need to correct anyone that misspeaks this at this point. It's the Derrick Chauvin trial, not the George Floyd trial. So let's clear that up. I wanted to clear that up. I went back and I was watching last week, after the show, and I caught these things, and I wanted to make sure I cleared them up myself, because I'm sure some of y'all had some comments too. Feel free to send me comments after the show if you feel I said something wrong or didn't address something that you want me to address, because I'm all open. This is a show that we want to get more involved in and everything like that. So I don't know everything, but I do know that I can be corrected, and I will receive it with open arms. So also, this is not a mistake by me, but this is a social media thing. And I've noticed on social media, because I do a lot of perusing around social media, just see what other folks are doing, other folks are talking about through the news and different things like that, what's going on in society. And in social media this week, excuse me, I noticed there's a lot of people, influencers on social media that are having some problems. And I don't know if y'all recognize them, but I'm going to name a couple of them, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. Derrick Jackson. I don't know if anybody knows Derrick Jackson. Derrick Jackson calls himself a relationship guru, has a couple books and everything. But he goes online, he tells women what they shouldn't accept from men and all these different things. Well, it came to find out that he was cheating on his wife, not once, not twice, but many times. Now, I'm not one here to judge nobody about cheating. I'm not one to do that. But if you're going to call yourself a relationship guru and you get called cheating, then I think there's an issue there. But let me proceed, and I'll tell you what this is all about. Tamika Mallory, she's involved in the Black Lives Matter movement and different things like that, trying to get justice and everything. And Sean King, who is also involved in the movement for Black folks and everything. But they're accused of taking money from the Black Lives Matter movement and not giving it to the victims' parents or the victims' families. So they've been under the microscope where people are saying they're taking money. I don't know. I read a little bit here, read a little bit there. Also, there's a guy named Kevin Samuels, who's an image consultant on Facebook and on YouTube, and women call in, ask for advice. He's supposed to be image consultant. And one of the things I find kind of disrespectful when he does this is they'll come on and they'll be talking to him, and he said, "What's your dress size? How tall are you?" Asking all these things about weight and everything like this, and saying why they can't find a man. Now, some people appreciate what he's doing. Men are selective, women are selective. That's fine and everything. But there's things about on social media that can come full circle, and they're saying he's a fraud. They say he's kind of crispy is the word they use. I don't know what crispy means, but I think it means he may wave a little bit. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I read. Roland Martin's under fire right now by some people because he had a young man on there that said he was starting a school. And Roland Martin had brought him on there about voting in Georgia, but he wanted to talk about his school. And they went back and forth. And then the guy tried to call him Roland out. Roland tried to call him out. So a lot of people are getting on Roland Martin, saying he's over talking his guests when he has them on the show. Now, I don't know. I watch Roland Martin every once in a while. He does get a little feisty sometimes, and I get that. But people are riding his back as well. Good morning, Gary Burns. Appreciate the support, brother. Appreciate the support. Then we go to Michael Baisden. Michael Baisden, a lot of people know who Michael Baisden is. Michael Baisden is not on the radio as much as he was before. He has a YouTube, Facebook page and everything. I follow him a little bit. But there's a lot of complaints about him recently about being over-sexualized and some of the comments he's making and the things he's talking about threesomes and all this kind of stuff. So there's people that are really starting to look at them in different light. And then also you got Candace Owens. Well, we all know Candace Owens is an attention seeker. She was going after Meghan Markle, and then she was going after Cardi B and all this stuff. And she has her own skeletons as well. And I bring all these people up on social media to just put it out there like this. I do a show on social media as well. I pay attention to what other people are doing, so I don't make the mistakes of what they are doing. So what I do is I try to learn from the things that they're doing. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect. Don't get me wrong. But when I come on the show, I try to give you the information that you can use, try to give you information to make you think differently, not to change your mind. As I always say, I'm just trying to get you to think differently than you did before you heard the topics that I'm talking about when I turn the microphone on. The reason I bring all these up is that on social media now, you can find a lot of good information. You can find a lot of bad information, but it's up to you to decipher what's the good and what's the bad upon what you feel is relevant for you. you know, however you take it, however you want to receive it is up to you. But I brought these names up because one of the things is I've seen it all over, and everyone is jumping on these names I've talked about, and everybody has these comments running under when someone posts something about them. And it just opened my eyes to the fact of I may be small. I'm just going to say I may be small. However, I haven't had no long stream of things and people trying to bring up my past and all this thing because I try to stick to the facts. And I try to stick to the facts, and I try to do my best not to inject personal, all this type of stuff in here as far as what's going on in the news or anything like that. And I don't call myself any type of expert when I do this. I'm just here to give you in-depth information about something you may have questions about, and that's it. So social media can be a gift and a curse, and I've said it many times. Everything is free may not be good for you. Everything is free may not be good for you. So I just wanted to bring that up this morning, let you know I got my pulse. Got my hand on the pulse of what's going on out there in social media. If anybody's listening to what's going on out there and everything, I listen to some of it I just blow off and different things like that. But when they showed Derrick Jackson and his wife and all this kind of stuff, and people went away from the message and were concentrating on her having a bonnet on and how she looked, and she looked, all the different things you can think about that made it seem like she was being, forced to do what she was doing. I had to cut it off there. So we just give y'all an idea. I have to check myself sometimes. That's why I go around and check other people's, social media and everything, see what they're doing to make sure I'm staying on that level of being legit in what I do. So I appreciate y'all support in the process of me doing this. So shout out to all the listeners, all the family members, everybody who chooses to tune in every Saturday morning, because you could be doing something else, but you choose to tune in here and spread it to your friends. YouTube, go there, subscribe, spread it to your friends, let them know. Facebook, RW Coolins, everywhere. Find it, follow it, listen, and give me critique. Give me feedback. I get phone calls. And critiques and things like that, and I accept them. I accept them wholeheartedly. But I would tell you, if you got something, a critique, feel free. You can do it while we're in the middle of the show. I'm going to receive it, and I'm not going to get upset about it. That's what life is about. Good morning, Brian Hoodie. Good morning, bro. Appreciate the support. So now let's go ahead and get into this show. Well, we already started, but Sesame Street. Everybody remembers watching Sesame Street. When you churn. Churn. Little people. Look, when you were a little churn. Well, Sesame Street decided to add 2 Black Muppets. Yeah, I said 2 Black Muppets. Now I'm gonna go out on a limb. RW Coolins always thought they had Black Muppets somewhere in the mix. I was wrong. I guess because seeing all the different colored Muppets, you would assume by their actions, some of them were per se African-American, Black, or whatever. But they have 2 specifically that they made look African-American. And their names are, it's a father and son, and their names are Wes and Elijah. Wes and Elijah. So that's who's on Sesame Street. Good morning, Lynn Sewell. Appreciate the support. So Sesame Street is introducing 2 new Muppets, a Black father and son, as part of an effort to help children understand racial literacy. The 2 Muppets, Wes and Elijah, were introduced in a short video created by Sesame Workshop, the nonprofit educational organization behind the long-running show. In the video, Elmo wants to know why Wes's skin is brown. So his father, Elijah, explains the concept of melanin and how the color of our skin is an important part of who we are. Cut and dry. Melanin content. We hear it all the time. I have to appreciate Sesame Street for going to this level to get into the point of children understanding what melanin is and how it affects our skin, because a lot of people don't explain it. A lot of people just blow over it. It makes us different, but not different in a manner of us being human beings. So I appreciate Sesame Street for that. By encouraging these much needed conversations through coming together, we can help children build a positive sense of identity and value the identities of others. So that's what they're doing. That's what Sesame Street's doing. I seen that. It jumped out at me because I think, we all grew up on Sesame Street. Come on now. Come on. We all grew up on Sesame Street. And the thing about Sesame Street was it was a building block for us as young kids sitting in front of the TV, watching Kermit, Miss Piggy, you know, all the other characters you can think about, you know, Big Bird, you know, all those different characters, you know, help develop us along the way as far as the stories they told and the scenarios they had. And to add these two African-American Black characters in there as a father and son is a good step in the way of what's going on now with Sesame Street, bringing that into the forefront so kids can understand. You know, they shouldn't find out later on in life exactly, you know, when you turn 8, 9 years old, of who's different, who's not different, and all those type of things. It's a good step. I appreciate it, but they need to add a woman. Just to be real, they need to add an African-American female in that equation too. You just can't have the father and the son. You need to have a female in there too. Let's get the full scope of what we're about. Good morning, Brenda Gray. Appreciate the support. So let's go into this next thing. Gas prices. Let's talk about these gas prices, because everybody, you know, I've seen different things in the news, you know, on Facebook, on social media about gas prices, and they're blaming Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. They say Joe Biden's the reason the gas prices are so high. It doesn't make sense. So I've decided that I'm going to squelch some of these things about the gas prices, because it bothers me that people don't do their research. And here it goes. Gasoline prices in the U.S. reached an average of $2.87 a gallon over the past week. The national average for gas prices during the same time last year was set at $2.10, marking more than a 25% increase. Now, the states with the highest gas prices are California at $3.86 a gallon, Hawaii at $3.53 a gallon, and Washington State at $3.31 a gallon. Utah, Idaho, Montana, Louisiana, and Florida saw the biggest price increases compared to prices last week. Now, I go into this for one simple reason, because I'm going to break it down to you like it's supposed to be broken down. Faye Jackson, how about a wine on uncle at it? A wine on uncle, bro? Come on now. This is Sesame Street we talking about. We ain't talking about Faye Jackson Street. We talking about Sesame Street. But I digress. Let me continue with the gas prices. Oh, everybody want to see the wine. This ain't Sanford and Son or nothing like that. So with the gas prices, everybody should understand this. Gas prices were low for the last year because of the pandemic. People weren't traveling. The supply and demand wasn't up, so the prices were low. Now that everyone's coming out of this pandemic, it seems like the states are opening up and everything. What do you think is going to happen? Prices are going to go up. And don't just think it's going to be just gas prices. Everything you know to be true when things open back up is going to go up, because businesses have lost money. Businesses have lost money, and they're trying to recoup what they've lost during this pandemic. Now, do I think it's right? No. But do I think it's something that's going to have to be done? Of course. Of course. When you have something where you shut down a business that long, you're definitely going to have to, you're definitely going to have to increase the prices to make your profit back. You laid off people, you got to hire people again, you got to do all these things. You got to look at it from the business aspect. So people trying to put this all on the new president, I have a problem with. That's why I want to clear this up. And it's not that I'm defending Joe Biden. It's the fact that the facts are here in black and white. If you just take the time to go and look for them, stop pointing everything and trying to blame everybody else for these things without looking at as we mentioned last week, the root cause of what the problems are. Now, with the gas prices, let me give you a little history of gas prices and how they flow. Back in 2012, gas was $3.50 a gallon. And that was because there was concern about potential military action against Iran. That was in February 2012. May of 2012, the increase in oil prices caused the price to go up to $3.87. D-Cam, what's going on, bro? Appreciate the support, bro. Appreciate the support. So in March of 2012, it was an increase in oil prices. So the price per gallon went up to $3.87 a gallon. August of 2012, U.S. refineries closed for hurricanes. Price was at $3.80. September of 2012, California shortages due to refinery power outage, regional, $4.50 a gallon. That was the average. This was back in 2012. 2013, in February of 2013, there was political unrest in Egypt. Gas prices were at $3.85 a gallon. April 2014, political unrest in Ukraine, Nigeria, and Iraq. $3.60 a gallon. July 2015, California oil sent elsewhere, waited on tankers. They were trying to send oil out to different places and everything from the United States, $4 a gallon. August 2015, outage at the U.S. refinery, $2.62 a gallon is what the price was. November of 2016, OPEC cut production, $2.21 a gallon. August 2017, hurricane damage production facilities in $2.49 a gallon. These are averages now. I'm sorry. May 2018, U.S. decision to pull out of the Iran nuclear agreement. Price of gas, $2.96 a gallon. $2.96 a gallon, excuse me. December 2019, overproduction and slow demand for oil, $2.57 a gallon. April of 2020. Now watch this now. April of 2020. The price per gallon is when the pandemic was only a month in, because we shut down in March. April of 2020, the price per gallon average $1.77. $1.77. That's where you have to open your eyes and read for yourself what's going on. I don't have a problem. Well, I do have a problem. Let me be real. I was about to say I don't have a problem with the gas prices, but you have to understand the price of gas is going to fluctuate with what's going on. It's common sense. Gary Burns, not only gas, groceries as well. That's what I mentioned in the beginning. Appreciate that, bro. Groceries are going to go up. And let's add this in here. You're going to see a price change. There's a ship. You know, the Suez Canal is like this. Oh, my hand's straight. There you go. Suez Canal is like this, right? But there's a ship in the Suez Canal like this. Let me get it right. Turn sideways. It's crooked and it's blocking up the Suez Canal. So all these ships behind it can't get through. So they got to go all the way around. And they say the long way around goes all the way around the continent of Africa. So with that being said, prices are going to spike with whatever cargo these ships are carrying. So you got to be prepared for things that happen in the world that affect the prices here. Everybody thinks, and I'm just going to go out here, everybody thinks when we come out of this pandemic, everything is going to be back to normal. No, it's going to be a sense of normalcy, but it's not going to be normal. Things are going to change. Prices are going to change. Hell, your routine is going to change. We are changed as people. So you got to understand these things and take into account that gas prices, groceries prices, all these things are going to be looking differently than they did before we went into the pandemic. Jeffrey Carr, looking at the knowledge you're giving, Rod. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. Trying to put it out there, man, so everybody understands what's going on and what we got to look forward to. Because when you talk about shutdowns, layoffs, all these things. Think about this. Everyone has been laid off. Now that we're coming out of this pandemic, going to be looking for a job. There's only so many jobs, but there's more people looking for jobs than there are going to be jobs. What are you going to do? Are you going to get upset every time you apply for a job? You can't get it. Well, you got to remember, you may be applying for a job. There may be thousands of other people applying for that same job. Patience and understanding is what we're going to need coming out of this pandemic. And I talked about this many times where we have to understand that everything is not going to just like that over tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. You still got people out here just all willy-nilly doing what they want to do and everything, not paying attention to, the mask rules, if they have them, if they don't have them and everything like that. But we have to be cognizant of the things that are going to change coming out of this. We say we want some sense of normalcy, but everything is not going to come back normal. Like, as I just said, because price is going to change, people are going to change. Let's go there. People are going to change. I mean, you got to think about it. If we come out of this pandemic, somebody cough near you, you're trying to run. You're trying to get away. It's a different mindset that we're going to have coming out of this than we did coming in. Just put it out there. So gas prices are going up. And plus, this is the part that really bothers me, because I read all those facts. I read all those prices, different things that happen to cause the gas prices to go up and different things like this. But one thing people aren't taking into account, and it's so simple. Every year around this time, March, April, going into it, prices go up. Why? Spring, summer, travel time, people wanting to get out after the winter. It's normal. It happens every year. But we have people that want to pin it on a politician or a certain politician because they don't like him or they don't like his policies or whatever they want to do. But at the end of the day, gas prices are going to fluctuate depending on season, depending on reasons beyond our control, as well as things that happen, just like I read, all those different things that have gone on that cause gas prices to fluctuate. Just prepare yourself to spend a little bit more at the pumps during the time when travel comes, because it's normal. It's normal. Stop trying to blame everybody. It's normal practice. All right, let's transition here. Behind closed doors. Behind closed doors. Georgia. 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 Yeah. Yesterday, or day before, one of the days, I can't remember. Behind closed doors, Governor Kemp signed a new Election Integrity Act of 2021 into law. Georgia, y'all got issues. Y'all, let me shout out Georgia real quick. I'm gonna digress for a minute. Georgia, all my people's in Georgia. Y'all need to pull away from them strip clubs for a while. I mean, there's one on every corner, but I'm not trying to call y'all out. But come on up out of there. Come on up out of there and start paying attention to what's going on in the politics down there. Because they're shifting the dichotomy of what you guys did this last election to change it back to and I don't like to use these terms, but they used it to Jim Crow. They call it Jim Crow 2.0 and all this kind of stuff. I don't like the label of that. I just like to look at it as the fact of you have people in these offices that are doing whatever they can to disenfranchise a certain people from being able to vote the way they did this last election. That's it. But we and the people in Georgia and the United States as a whole, because this is not the only place it's happening, need to pay attention of what's going on behind these closed doors. Things that we don't hear about until it's written into law. While this was going on, Democrat, her name is Park Cannon. She's a legislator down in Georgia. She was handcuffed and removed from the building, from the state capitol, for knocking on the door. You can't make this up. She was knocking on the door while Governor Kemp was in there signing this act, the Election Integrity Act of 2021 into law. She was knocking on the door. And I don't know if everybody's seen the video, but she was knocking on the door. The cops were talking to her. She knocked on the door. He told her, you do it again, we're going to arrest you. They arrested her. She's a legislator. So I'm trying to figure out why she wouldn't have the right to be there. But then I'm going to digress for a minute again on this, because there was something else that I read and I didn't want to make it big, but because I don't know the facts about it. Let's just put it there. But there was an article that addressed the signing of this law. And they had a picture of Governor Kemp sitting at the desk signing it. And they had like 6 or 7 other white politicians standing behind him. But what was odd to me looking at the picture, and they brought it up, was behind him, Governor Kemp, up on the wall was a picture. You usually see a picture up there. But after researching, the person that wrote this article said it was a picture of a plantation that is well known down in the South. And that picture is prominently displayed behind him, like my cabinet, curio cabinet thing back here, or desk, whatever you want to call it, is back here. There was a picture behind him of this plantation that they say. But then you had 6 or 7 white men standing beside him while he's signing this act that's going to disenfranchise, per se, African Americans in voting in Georgia. Now, I don't know the symbolism. I don't know the truth, but I'm just giving you what I read. And if this is true, you have to take it into account, the symbolisms that are done at certain times. It's no different than when we talk about President Trump, when he went out there and held the Bible upside down in front of that church out there. Symbolisms of what of the point they're trying to get across. But I digress. Let me get back. So this act, law, makes Georgia the first presidential battleground state and the second overall to pass laws that restrict ballot access in the aftermath of the 2020 election. I think the other one was Iowa, if I'm not mistaken, but I think we'll get to that. And then Miss Cannon, let's talk about her. According to her arrest warrant, now this is where they lied on her. According to her arrest warrant, Miss Cannon knowingly and intentionally kept knocking on the door despite repeated warnings and stomped, watch this now, stomped on her apprehending officer's foot with her heels. Now, I watched that video a couple times after I seen this article. I never one time seen her step on any officer's foot, purposely or otherwise, while they were trying to take her out. Now, if it happened in the process of them dragging her out and everything, then this is something they just trumped up. But the bottom line was they were handcuffing her. You had other people that were standing there telling her, let her go. Why are you arresting her? And all these things. They were handcuffing her. There she was, they could have probably got her for resisting, but when they pulled the handcuffs out, she allowed them to handcuff her. But all these other things about stomping on somebody's foot and all that, it just shows you how they can trump up charges on you if they want. In a statement on Facebook, the lawmaker, Miss Cannon, said she will not stand by while our voting rights are threatened and pledged to continue this fight. Miss Cannon is among those who have slammed the measures in Georgia as Jim Crow and new clothes, a reference to the 19th and 20th century laws that enforce racial segregation in the U.S. South. Now, in the new law that was signed yesterday, the day before, I can't remember exactly what day, but the day it was signed, these are some of the things that jump out that were written into the law that people have a problem with. So let's go here. And this is, and the reason I'm doing this, it is specifically in Georgia right now, but you need to be aware that this could be happening in any state where they have a majority Republicans in office that feel that even though, let's go here, even though there was no voter fraud found, a large amount of voter fraud found, that they're still going on this, that they need to change the voting laws so there is no voter fraud. If you didn't find any, then obviously, as they've said many times, this was the most secure election that they've had in a long period of time. Now you're changing the laws because you lost. How does that work? So here we go. Here's the laws that go into play. All right. It adds new ID requirements for requesting mail-in ballots, replacing the current system, which simply requires a signature. Republicans say this will instill greater confidence in election integrity, but Democrats say it will now be harder for working class people who may not have an ID to cast a ballot. I have a problem with the ID thing. You can get an ID. Let's just be honest here. Sometimes we need to take steps to do what we know we need to do. And this is just not for African-American folk, this is for everybody. If you don't have an ID, if you don't have some acceptable form of ID, you need to get one. Cut and dry. You need to have some acceptable form of ID for anything you do. Don't just take for granted that people know who you are, or you're going to be able to use this. Get you an ID, an authorized ID. It eliminates it all. It eliminates it all. And I'm not telling people that I agree with this law that was put in, but I'm just telling you that if it's something that you can do to put yourself in a better position, just do it. That's it. Just do it. It expands early voting access in most counties. A previous version of the bill that curbed weekend voting prompted an outcry, with Democrats arguing that it targeted the Sunday voting drives held by Black churches. Now, it says it expands early voting access in most counties, but not all. And the two they talked about was DeKalb County and Fulton County, where you have your majority of African Americans. That's where they didn't expand early voting access. They reduced it. Let's go here. It gives the state legislature great power over the state election board. Democrats say the move would allow votes in certain counties to be thrown out, which Mr. Trump advocated for after his loss. So now they wrote in here that the state legislator can look at votes and say, nope, nope, nope. And that's not the way the process is supposed to work. It's not the state legislator's job to throw out votes. It's the voting apparatus, the voting system people that are put in this place to do the voting. that decide whether these votes count or whether they don't count. It bans the practice. I'm going to say that one. It shortens the period for runoff elections. It will go from 9 weeks to 4 weeks, shortening the time for early and mail-in voting. Democrats say this is an attempt to suppress votes after the energized voter base in Georgia sent 2 Democrats to the U.S. Senate this year. Republicans say it will more fairly reflect voters' beliefs at the time of the initial vote. Shortening the time to vote and everything, I have a solution for that. Runoff elections or otherwise. We all understand, and these politicians understand how important your vote is. If they didn't, they do now, which is why they're doing this. My solution, and I've heard some other people say it, so it's not just mine, but I've thought about it. Why not make Election Day a national holiday? We make national holidays for everything else. What is the problem with making Election Day a national holiday where people go and vote? Shut it down. Shut the country down and let them vote. You don't have to worry about letting people go from work. You don't have to worry about that 2-hour window of when they're going to get to the polls and all that and the long lines. Shut it down. On that day, one day, whatever that Tuesday is that we do an election, shut the country down and let everybody vote. You don't have the problem. You don't have this problem. Also, with early voting, all you have to do is the same thing. If you're early voting, if you're going to do early voting, do it on the weekends. You have the people that can get there and do the voting. But the window, dictate the window on how long it's going to be for early voting. But you should be able to do something where it doesn't seem as though what you're doing is disenfranchising a group of people to get your outcome that you want. If you have this much of a problem with voter fraud and everything, do it one day. Shut it down. Shut the country down. Let everybody go to the polls when they're supposed to go. And if you don't go, you don't go. You just got a day off, but you need to do your due diligence because you still got people that don't go anyway. If they want to get paid for that day off or as a holiday or whatever, make them bring a slip showing that they went to the polls. You do it for jury duty. Why can't you do it for voting? Just an observation, just a R.W. Cooling thought, is not in depth, but it's just skimming the surface of things they can do. Now, the last one, it bans the practices of giving food or water to voters in line. The Republican bill labels it a method of soliciting votes. But several media reports suggest that voters, particularly in majority Black parts of the state, have often had to wait in line for hours. But they're saying you can't have food. Nobody can give you food or water while you're standing in line. These long lines that they've developed because they only have so many polling stations in certain communities. Now, there's a Bishop Talbert Swan that made this statement, and I'm going to read it. Bishop Talbert Swan said, "It's illegal to give food and water to hungry/thirsty voters standing in line in Georgia. But police can take mass murderers who kill Black people attending Bible study to Burger King." That's a drop the mic moment there. So you can take a mass murderer who killed people sitting in Bible study to Burger King. But if you're standing in line to vote and you've been in that line for 3-4 hours, however long you've been there, and I decide that I don't want to bring you a bottle of water, it's against the law. It's against the law for me to bring you any type of sustenance, even though you may have been standing in line 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. And in most of our communities, the lines are long. Why? Because they shut down polling places in our community at large numbers. But these laws, they say these laws are not against or going against the African-American community. Okay, Georgia is among the first states to pass some form of overhaul to voting rules, with Iowa, as I mentioned, being the first earlier this month. But it won't be the last. Now, here's something you need to understand. Currently, there are 253 similar bills in 43 states. 43 of the 50 states have a total combined 253 similar bills in 43 states in this United States of America. There's only 50 plus the territories. Think about that. But there's 253 similar bills like the one in Georgia in these 43 states to change the way voting happens. Data from the National Conference of State Legislators shows Republicans have legislative control in 30 states and unified control, including the governorship, in 23 states, far more than Democrats. Unified control means that what happened in Georgia, where a law quickly passes both chambers and gets signed by the governor, can easily be replicated in all these other locations. Voting rights advocates say, for the people, a democracy reform bill passed by the U.S. House of Representatives can stop state-level voter suppression in its tracks. We need to pay attention, y'all. We need to stay up on this because there's been a Voting Rights Act, and I mentioned this before, a Voting Rights Act sitting on the desk of Mitch McConnell for years. And then they changed it to the oh Lord, I just forgot his name. John Lewis, I'm sorry. I had one of the moments. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act still hadn't been signed. Still hadn't been presented. It's still sitting there. It's in the Senate. It's been there. Now that we have, or that the Democrats are in charge who have been harping on this, it's time to push it through. It's time to get it done. I don't understand, and I know everybody's heard about this thing called the filibuster. I need to get more research in that, but I want to give everybody understanding what a filibuster, when they talk about a filibuster, what this truly means. Because I heard different things about it, and I haven't read on it, but I heard somebody say, well, this was something that was done to, it's racist. It was done during that time and everything like that, but I need to read up on it. So once I read it, then I'll present it to you, because I'm not going to talk about something I don't know truly about. But what I'm telling you is that now that the Democrats are in charge, per se, they have the House and the Senate by one, it's 50-50, but they have the majority, per se, because they have the tie breaker in the vice president, Kamala Harris. There's a way to get this done. Now, is it going to trump everything? Is it going to knock out everything these states are doing at this point? I don't know. But if it's something that's been there and it's something that needs to be done, what is the holdup? How come it hasn't been done? Why haven't they pushed it through? Now, I know they always say Mitch McConnell was that, the end all to be all up there. And, everything we know about him is not on the up and up. But now that the Democrats are in there, they need to show their hand on what they're going to do and what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go. We need to hold both parties accountable, just not Republicans when we don't like them, and not Democrats because you don't like them. Both are accountable for everyone's well-being in this United States of America, and we need to hold them accountable as such. It's crazy. It's crazy that's something that can pass in the year of 2021. Excuse me, y'all. Allergy season. Get ready for it. It's allergy season. Business or sellout? Business or sellout? Now, I don't like to use the term sellout. I just don't like using it. But this is something that people equate to what I'm getting ready to talk about. So I figured I'd bring it up now. Master P, Percy Miller. Everybody, Master P from back in the day, long time. I used to listen to that stuff back in the day. But anyway, Master P went into business with a company called Ralph's Markets, and he opened a grocery store in Louisiana. Master P with Ralph's Markets opened a grocery store in Louisiana. But there's some controversy behind this because the Ralph's family, Ralph Sr., he is a retired owner and no longer runs the business. His son owns the business now. So Master P was going into business with his son to open his supermarket. The father was participating in the insurrection on January 6th. And this is well known throughout. So people have a problem with Master P going into business with these folks who supported Trump, were backers of Trump, went to the insurrection and everything. But the son said this in his statement. He's the CEO. He said, I wasn't involved in the controversy. That's something my dad did on his personal time. It doesn't involve Rouse's Supermarkets. We're a good company. We have over 7,000 great employees. We serve thousands of customers every day. So we're here for communities like we've always been. We're going to continue to grow with our communities. Then Master P said about the controversy, none of us out here can point the finger and say, is our life perfect? Have you done everything right? After calls to boycott, the Louisiana NAACP severed ties with Rouse's Markets, which they used to interact with. And it says, Although they did not support a boycott, Dr. Michael McClanahan, Louisiana NAACP conference president, said to the Atlanta Black Star on March 13th, "You can't say the ex-president that's your idol and expect us to do nothing about it. After he," talking about President Trump, "has done everything he could to roll back all the gains we've gained as Black people made in America, as all the gains we've made in America as Black people. We just won't stand for it." McClanahan also added, "We had a relationship at the state level. We saw those things, those pictures, and we immediately sent out letters saying we were severing ties with them." Rouse markets are located in Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi. They have approximately 64 stores with roughly 6,500 employees. Donald Rouse Sr., who was the one who went to the insurrection and supported Donald Trump, has since apologized for attending the January 6th insurrection. So the thing I look at this is Master P trying to open up a grocery store with some people that in the community people aren't happy with. But he still decided to do the business with them to open this grocery store. Now, you can say it's a business move. Some people will say it's a sellout move. But you have to ask yourself, when you take Master P out of the equation, and let's ask this question here. Can you overlook the fact that this owner of this company chose to support Donald Trump and the insurrection at the time it was going on to overthrow and disenfranchise the African-American voters who voted for Joe Biden to put him in office rather than President Trump? Can you still support this person who has these supermarkets has 64 stores in Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi, and employs 6,500 employees, 6,500 to 7,000 employees? Can you overlook that when you're doing business? Because I will ask this question. I just read to you everything that just happened in Georgia. Coca-Cola is headquartered in Georgia. What are they doing as a company who has African Americans, Blacks working for them and other nationalities? Let's not leave everybody out. Working for them, who see this disenfranchisement of a vote in Georgia. And Coca-Cola is the company, one of the main companies in Georgia, as well as Delta Airlines, who were headquartered there. What are they doing to show their displeasure, disagreement with what has been written into law by the governor of Georgia? Because a lot of these big companies, what we know, donate to these campaigns, donate to these politicians. And some of you work for these companies that donate to politicians that you don't agree with or that you don't vote for. But you're expected to come to work and do your job every day while they're supporting someone that you don't agree with that is disenfranchising you. Now, I ask again, is this business or is it a sellout? Because the only time we use the word sellout is when it deals with our people. But if Coca-Cola and Delta are not doing something about what happened in Georgia, then why are you upset with Master P for doing business with somebody who went to the insurrection? What's the way of the scale? Should Master P know any better? Or is it because he's not as big a company as Coca-Cola or Delta? Or are we harder on our own folks when we go out to make business deals with, per se, someone we shouldn't, or people perceive we shouldn't? And because we're just that little cog, that small part of it, do we tend to hold them more accountable than we do the big business structure? If you're not mad at Coca-Cola, if you're not mad at Delta, then you shouldn't be mad at Master P. That's just a small part of what's going on around the country. But we concentrate on certain things because of not what they did, but who did it. I've seen things in the news where they talked about Coca-Cola and Delta need to step up to the plate because they should be disagreeing with what's going on with Georgia and everything. But that's a big corporation. Do you think they're going to buckle because one or two people say it? Or is there something, watch this now, is there something we need to do that akens back to the Martin Luther King Jr., and the Malcolm X's and the Fannie Lou Hamer? All those people in our history, is it something we need to do drastic like they did? Boycotts. When's the last time you decided not to drink Coke? If you don't drink Coke, then it's not a problem for you. But those that drink Coke, those that fly Delta, those that shop at that supermarket that they were talking about, when are we going to step up as a group and boycott certain things that we don't agree with because of the practices that they have? Rather than sitting around and complaining and arguing and looking at it and saying, oh, Master P did this, well, Coca-Cola's still doing this and Delta's doing this, but you're mad at Master P, but you're not mad at them because you can't put a face to the person that's in charge of Coca-Cola. You can't put a face to the person that's in charge of Delta, but you can put a face to Master P because you remember his music. You remember back in the day, you remember all the things he's done because he looks like you or me. So what are we really saying? Is it business or is it a sellout? Or are we selling ourselves out because we choose not to take that step to boycott certain things when they're not doing right by us? You know, I say this and I'm just as guilty, so I'm not eliminating myself from this. You know, we hear different people say, you know, we didn't turn into punks. And I don't like to use that word, but you hear people say, oh, we punk ass parents and all this kind of stuff. But have we gotten soft when it comes to standing up for what we know is right and wrong? When it comes to standing up for what we need done for our community, in our community, have we gotten soft when it comes to standing up for what we know is right and wrong when it affects us and the masses? Because a lot of times we get silent. And we stand firm in our belief that as long as I don't say nothing, I ain't got to be a part of it. But when does that stop? When do we get to that point where we start standing up and saying, wait a minute, this ain't right. We need to change something here. We need to do something here. This is affecting all of us. But the first thing we want to do is call people a sellout rather than doing our jobs to make sure that we make change where change needs to happen. I'm guilty. You're guilty. We're all guilty. We get comfortable. It's that comfort zone. As long as I'm in my comfort zone, I'm fine. But when do we step out of our comfort zone? Because in order to get the true results that you want, you got to come out of that comfort zone. You got to get uncomfortable with being comfortable. Now, I'm not saying Master P's right making this business deal, but you have to look at the big picture. Where is he putting the grocery store? Is it in an area, and I couldn't find that in the article, but is it an area that is not, supplied by a grocery store? All those things come into play. That's why you see these Walmarts strategically positioned in all these different places. You may have a Walmart here and then have one down the street, but they look at where they can place them to get the more bang for the buck. But in most African-American Black communities, you don't see Walmarts specific. It's like on the edge. It's on the edge. It ain't right in. It's on the edge. So is Master P putting this right in the community? Business or sellout? You be the judge. You be the judge. Mind, body, and soul segment, y'all. Mind, body, and soul. Year 2021. We're working on ourselves this year, taking it one day at a time, Melvin Jackson, hey, appreciate the support, bro. Appreciate the support. We're taking it one day at a time in 2021, working on ourselves, working on our mental health, working on our full body, our full soul, our whole self is what we're doing this year. And this one here, it jumped out at me and it really made me think. And I hope it makes you think as well, because it's something that I think we hear, but we don't hear and we don't really understand. So I'm going to get into this. Here we go. You're born looking like your parents. You die looking like your decisions. Let me say that again, because I think somebody needs to grab that this morning. I'm going to act like your pastor this morning. Somebody needs to grab this morning. Let watch this. As in the infamous words of former Bishop, rest his soul, Bishop Eddie Long. Watch this. I always wanted to do that. Y'all leave me alone on that. You're born looking like your parents. You die looking like your decisions. We've all, at some time in our lives as a kid, and as you've grown through life, people say, boy, you look just like your dad. But that girl ain't a spitting image of her mom. You know how we in our community, boy, you look just like your daddy. Boy, I tell you, boy, woo. We've all heard it. I know I've heard it. I know some of you heard it. Some of y'all heard it more than others. But you hear that growing up and you poke your chest out because you look at it, you're like, yeah, I look like my parents. I look like my parents. I look like my mom. I look like my dad. And I'm glad of who my parents are. I receive who my parents are. But then as life goes on, you don't hear it as much anymore. You don't hear, you look like your daddy. You look like your mom. People start looking at you, not by who you were and who your parents are, but on the decisions you've made that they understand and they know about. Right, wrong, bad, ugly, whatever decisions you make is what you start looking like. Because what we know is when you're young and you're still growing, the decisions you make are taken as just a bad decision. He didn't know no better. That's my baby. He ain't do that. He'll grow out of that. He'll get past that. All the things we do with our own children, we give them the benefit of the doubt. That's what we got as kids because we were born looking like our parents. And our parents coddled us. They brought us in. They taught us the ways of the world from their eyes. And then when you got out on your own and you started living life, I'll say, enjoying life. And I'll tell you the things that when they say you died looking like your decisions, when you make the decisions to start drinking, you make the decisions to start smoking, you make the decisions to start burning the candle at both ends because you ain't getting enough rest and the bags under your eyes. I got something on my mind too, I ain't gonna lie. But the decisions you make is what people see you as. If you were the one in the club all the time partying and things like that, the thing is, when you die, and people talk about you, may not be in the church, because, in the church, everybody's going to say everything good about you because they don't want the church to get upset, but I want you to tell the truth about me. Don't sugarcoat nothing. But in the church, they're going to tell you all the good things that ever happened to you. But then when they get outside, your boys, this happens, everybody's seen it. Your boys get out there, they got that bottle they pass around, talking about, boy, that boy crazy, boy, he was one of them dudes, man. Well, he used to do this, he used to do that. The truth is spoken through liquor after the service at the repast, outside, from the trunk. Everybody's seen it before. But you die looking like your decisions in that aspect of the things that you do in life, the decisions you make is what the resemblance of who you are becomes. You may still look like your mama. You may still look like your daddy. But they don't call you that more. They don't say that no more. They start judging you and looking at you differently because of decisions you've made in your life, whether they were good or bad, and whatever happened to you along the way. What I would tell you is, I made decisions along the way. And the thing about it is, you don't have to die looking like your decisions if you learn to receive the bad decisions as well as you do the good ones. Let me say that again. As long as you receive the bad decisions you made as well as the good decisions you made, you will come out looking better than you thought you would. Because one thing I know to be true is this: decisions you make in life may affect you, but they're also going to affect those around you. And you have to get to a point in your life where you are able to receive and accept a bad decision as well as you do a good decision. Because some of the bad decisions you make can be changed. They can be altered. It's not going to change what you did, but the perception of what you did can be changed over time. So when you're laying there, casket sharp, I hate to say that, but when you're laying there, casket sharp, and you're looking down from the heavens above and you're watching your funeral, you know who's there for you and who's there for judgment. But you also know that you didn't die looking like your decisions. You died looking like the person, man or woman, that you truly are. Because everybody's going to judge you by your decisions. But at the end of the day, your mama can't make your decisions. Your daddy can't make your decisions. And no matter how much you look like them, your decisions are still your decisions. And that's what you're going to be judged on. Take the time to reevaluate the decisions you make. take the time to reevaluate the decisions you made in the past. And as I've always said, don't dwell on them. Do not dwell on those decisions. Reflect and move forward. And don't make the same decisions that you made that were bad before over and over again. We can all come out looking rosy on the other side. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you are comfortable with the decisions you make, that you take into account who you're affecting with the decisions you make. And most of the times, people don't equate us to our decisions that we make with looking like our parents anymore, because they know our parents wouldn't have made those decisions for us or with us or agreed with them. Decisions. Let me read that quote one more time to give you something to think about this weekend. You're born looking like your parents. You die looking like your decisions. Put that liquor down. Put that drink down. Put that weed. No, well, I ain't gonna say put the weed down. Some of y'all, medicinal purposes, I understand. But be cognizant of the decisions you make, right, wrong, and different. Don't go out of here with something that just wasn't of the body. We're gonna wrap this thing up. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Hey man, I appreciate everybody. I come on here every Saturday morning. I have a good time with this. I try to give you the facts of what's going on in the world and try to leave you with something positive in the mind, body, and soul segment. That's all I'm here to do. I just want to get the message out. Not that I'm the end all to be all, but what I want to do is give you information that you may not thought about or you may not have seen in the light that I'm telling you, and process it for yourself. As I said, rwcoolins@yahoo.com is my email. You can send me an email if you have a problem with anything I've talked about. You can comment on the show. I'm open to any suggestions, any feedback, or any topics that you may want to discuss. I'm working on guests coming on, so we're going to have some guests coming up that we're going to talk about some things, because if you notice, I'm trying to get away from the politics, but that voting in Georgia had to be talked about. It needed to be talked about, and we need to stay up on what's going on, not only in Georgia, but in all the other 50 states and the territories around. And as I always say before I sign off, I hope all y'all have a good weekend. Let's start there first. I got some comments coming in. Then so, thanks, my brother. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Terrence Collins, love you, bro. Appreciate you, bro. And Gary Burns, great show as always. Hey, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, bro. I read the comments. I put them up on here so everybody can see them, because one thing that I want everybody to do is to know that I don't do this for me. I do it for the information to be passed on. Everybody's always said I can talk. I like to put the information out there. So that's what I do. That's what I'm trying to do. Share it with your friends. Share it, subscribe on Facebook. Continue listening, and we're going to make this build. We're going to make this build. And as I mentioned about the social media before, the social media with all these people, having their different dichotomies. And I'm going to run into those too. As far as, more people come in, more critiques are going to be, I'm willing to receive it, because when it's a critique, as long as it's a critique that is from the heart and not just mean-spirited, I can receive it and grow from it rather than throw it away. Let's just go there. Jacqueline Diggs Barnett, what's up, classmate? Good morning. Enjoyed the last 10 minutes. We'll definitely replay. Appreciate your support. Appreciate your support. Judy Mills, my sister, I will have to do a replay for sure. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I enjoyed this. Thanks for inviting me, cuz. Oh, that must be Brian Hoodie's cousin. All right. Appreciate your support, William Hoodie. Appreciate you for tuning in. As I always say, we come in with love, we leave with love. And I appreciate everybody coming in with Diana Davis. Good information. Appreciate the support, Diana Davis. Some of these names I've never seen before. That means that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And I appreciate you tuning in. As I always say before I sign off, and I hope you all take heed to it. Love yourself, love one another, keep your head up. And most definitely, if you don't do anything else, most definitely, keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all next week. Don't forget, you can download the audio and the video anytime you want on YouTube, Facebook, and the audio on Spreaker.com and Apple iTunes. I love y'all. If ain't nobody else told you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it, but I love y'all and I appreciate your support. I'll see y'all next week. I'm out. Peace.